Good evening. I am Laura Clark, and I will serve as moderator for this forum. The forum is co-sponsored by the League of Women Voters of Murfreesboro, Rutherford County, and Rutherford County Office of Information Technology. It is my pleasure to welcome both our audience here at the County Courthouse and our viewers at home to our program tonight. We will hear remarks from the 4 candidates for Rutherford County Sheriff. Before introducing the candidates, I would like to outline the procedure for the forum. Each candidate will be asked to make a 1-minute opening statement. When all candidates have completed their opening statement, the first of several questions will be asked. The candidates will respond to each question with a 1-minute answer. Since we are requesting no audience response during the forum, please hold your applause until the end. I will begin by introducing the candidates. They are each seeking election to a position that is important to the citizens of Rutherford County. I want to thank them for their gracious acceptance of our invitation to participate in this event tonight. Speaking first today is Mr. Dale Armour. Mr. Armour, you may begin your opening statement.
I'm the conservative independent candidate running for sheriff. I don't have an agenda. I don't have an axe to grind. I want to return 34 years of law enforcement experience back to my home county of Rutherford County. I think it's time for a new leader, a new vision at the Sheriff's Department. We've continually, for the last 30 to 40 years, have seen the same thing over and over again. I believe it's coming in from the outside. I'll be able to bring in a diverse law enforcement background from a local police department when I started here in Murfreesboro to the state, and I've even worked alongside some federal agencies, so I can bring a different type of ideas to the department that maybe have become stagnant over the years. I'm the candidate that's going into this election knowing that I am going to be a temporary employee. An elected official is a temporary hired by the citizens of this county to manage their sheriff's department. The sheriff's department is the career employees who work there every day.
Thank you, Mr. Arnold. And now our second candidate tonight is Mr. Robert Arnold. Mr. Arnold, you may begin your opening statement.
Well, I'd like to thank the League of Women Voters for sponsoring this event tonight. I'm Robert Arnold. You elected me to be your sheriff 4 years ago. We started this incredible journey together. You trusted me to keep you, your family, and your property safe. We've taken this responsibility very seriously. Crime has dropped over 20% last year alone. School resource officers are protecting your children in every single school. Patrol officers are keeping your neighborhood safe, detectives are solving crime, and putting suspects behind bars. We are beginning a good conservative stewards of your money while serving you, the taxpayer. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Arnold. And now our third candidate tonight is Mr. Bill Kennedy. Mr. Kennedy,
yes,
you may
ma'am.
make your opening statement.
Good evening. I truly would like to thank the League of Women Voters for having this forum. I've been waiting some time to speak to the citizens of Rutherford County. My name is Bill Kennedy, and I am asking for your vote. I was brought to Rutherford County by the legendary football coach Boots Donnelly, and I went to MTSU where I got my Bachelor of Science degree in education. I was recruited by another great leader, Sheriff Truman Jones, to work at the Rutherford County Sheriff's Office. I started out as a detention officer, went to patrol, as a school resource officer at Oakland High School, worked up my ranks to the sergeant, lieutenant, captain, major commander over the Rutherford County Sheriff's Office School Resource Officer Program. I am a graduate of the FBI Academy. I have my master's degree in public service administration from Cumberland University. I am a proven leader. I have taken the Rutherford County Sheriff's Department to have multiple national awards and recognition. I will bring accountability, integrity, intelligence, and leadership back to the constitutional office of sheriff.
Thank you, Mr. Kennedy. And our fourth candidate tonight is Mr. Jim Trammell. Mr. Trammell, you may begin your opening statement.
Sure. I would like to say that I moved to Rutherford County to attend college in 1986. I obtained my criminal justice degree. Met my wife Susie at MTSU. We started a business called Valley Growers, which extended to another business called Valley Growers 2. I I started my career with the RCSO, Rutherford County Sheriff's Office, in '97, was hired in by Truman Jones. Throughout my career, I've worked in several departments, including patrol, SRO, and criminal investigations. I specialized in domestic violence and child abuse and CID, and swapped to property crimes my last 3.5 years. I chose to work in Rutherford County to be a public servant and make a positive change to the community. I had a wonderful career which came to a tragic end in June of 2013 due to political reasons. Others have experienced the same fate. If I'm elected, I will take a conservative approach budgetarily and make sure that transparency and accountability are a big focus. I will not confront any employee because of their political aspirations, rather encourage them throughout their endeavor. We need a sheriff who will not violate these rights, but who will listen to the employees and their concerns.
Thank you, Mr. Trammell. Now we will turn to our first question. The question will be answered by Mr. Arnold. And so the question is, why are you running for sheriff, Mr. Arnold?
Well, running for sheriff, I believe that I have something to offer to the county. We started this 4 years ago. I believe that we have technology that we need to move forward in. I believe that going forward within the sheriff's office, we need a leader who is willing to take this county forward and to strive to be the best sheriff's office in the state of Tennessee. And I think we've done that over the past few years. We've gone above and beyond with our training, our technology. We are continuing to strive in that direction. And I believe that I have what it takes to lead this county in that direction.
Thank you, Mr. Arnold. And now, Mr. Kennedy, why are you running for sheriff?
I am running for sheriff because I care about this community. I care about families, and most of all, care about kids. I was a school resource officer at Oakland High School. I was fortunate enough to be able to work with a lot of young people through my career, and I really want to make a difference, not only at the level of the School Resource Officer Division, but as Sheriff of Rutherford County. I am asking for your vote. We must have change. I am the best choice to effect that change. It is obvious that everyone had made a huge mistake 4 years ago, and what we would like to do, and it is imperative that we get back on track, that we take this to the next level, and that we don't turn around and go back the other way. I truly believe that I was called to be not only be a school resource officer, but I'm being called to be sheriff of Rutherford County.
Thank you, Mr. Kennedy. And now, Mr. Trammell, why are you running for sheriff?
My motivation is Robert Arnold. His practice of hiring family members, the good old boy system of wasteful spending is out of control. The RCSO budget has increased $8 million since he's been in office, all the while he claims to be a conservative. I don't feel any safer now than I did when the budget was $8 million less 4 years ago. I have experienced working as a patrol deputy and criminal investigator while in CID. I have seen practices of people being sent to middle management schools that can be gone for 10 to 12 weeks. Well, that didn't justify their position to me. Basically, what it told me was that the position was not needed if a lower-ranking officer can do what a higher-ranking officer can go on vacation schools for. I will bring back accountability, transparency, and physical fitness is something that we have not heard anybody talk about. We need our guys to be able to pass a PT test, climb over walls when they get in pursuits of different felons and situations they get into. I will focus on needs, not wants, and save taxpayers the most money I can without sacrificing the proactiveness of the department.
Thank you, Mr. Trammell. And Mr. Armour, why are you running for sheriff?
I have prepared my entire career to be a police executive. I've sought out the right experiences to prepare myself to succeed as a manager and leader in law enforcement. Our county has grown from the farming community I grew up in to an urban environment, and our population has grown. And with our population growth, we've also seen a large amount of new type of stuff coming in. Our crimes now are different than they were 20 years ago, 30 years ago when I started on the police department. Where my family shops, where your family shops, at the Walmart, we've had a double homicide. We've got a man assassinated on the side of the road on I-24. Those things didn't happen years ago. We need a new vision with a new leader who knows how, who has the experience to combat this violent crime. As a manager of 29 county drug enforcement, I was able to put together a network that broke the back of the vice lords in Clarksville, Tennessee, solved 4 homicides, stopped a homicide in progress. I've got the experience to combat what Rutherford County is getting ready to experience.
Thank you, Mr. Armour. And now to our second question tonight, and we will begin with Mr. Kennedy. Mr. Kennedy, what do you feel is the number one issue facing Rutherford County in the next 5 years, and how would you address that issue?
Well, there are so many issues that we could call number one, but I truly believe in the bottom of my heart that the biggest issue that we must face and must address is the safety of our kids. We've got to make sure that the young people in our schools and in our society are protected. Just a few weeks ago, we had several incidences throughout the nation, specifically Sandy Hook. And when Sandy Hook occurred, there was mayhem going on amongst crisis management. And here at the Rutherford County Sheriff's Office, instead of going out and preparing and getting school resource officers available for these schools, Sheriff Arnold decided to have a photo op at the school board with the school superintendent and wanting to arm every teacher in the entire county with guns. It is my contention that the school resource officer program.
Thank you, Mr. Kennedy. And Mr. Trammell, what do you feel is the number one issue facing Rutherford County in the next 5 years, and how would you address that issue?
It's hard to say, but I'd have to say the number one issue facing not just Rutherford County, but the entire nation is an out-of-control federal government. It seems we have royalty now in this country, and the establishment of both parties have done little, if anything, to stop the outright lawlessness of government agencies. We have witnessed the IRS target groups that the controlling political party just doesn't like for exercising their First Amendment right. If that sounds familiar, it should. It happened to me and other employees while employed under this last administration. ATF sells guns to gangs in Mexico used in many murders, including a Border Patrol agent. I'm tired of both parties and their establishment politicians, and is why I'm choosing to run as an independent. I would be an independent of any establishment that senses the interest of a few at the expense of many. I will not assist any federal agency in disarming law-abiding citizens or those practices their freedom of speeches.
Thank you, Mr. Trammell. And Mr. Armour, what do you feel is the number one issue in Rutherford County in the next 5 years, and how would you address that issue?
One of the biggest issues we have is population growth. It's not a bad issue. It's not a good issue. It's just the issue we're going to be facing. I believe that how we're going to be able to address that is through maintaining an open line of dialogue with other agencies, both in the private sector and the government sector. That includes law enforcement. That includes our churches. Anyone that we need to go put together to make sure that Rutherford County maintains our status in the community and the state of a good place to live. I'll support that process. Our growth must be managed from all disciplines of our community, and all of us must be willing to do our part of a small piece of the puzzle to put it together to make one large piece.
Thank you, Mr. Armour. And Mr. Arnold, what do you feel is the number one issue facing Rutherford County in the next 5 years, and how would you address that issue?
From the Sheriff's Office perspective, promoting safety and reducing crime is our number one priority. We hope to make the county safe and attractive by monitoring crime trends and taking a forward approach to law enforcement and specializing in training. We know that identity theft is one of the nation's largest crimes. We will continue to work with the state, federal agents in investigating these crimes and working with all these agencies. Identity theft is the largest crime in this country right now.
Thank you, Mr. Arnold. And now for our third question, and Mr. Trammell, we will begin with you. Mr. Trammell, how do you balance, or how will you balance expectations of constituents with budget constraints?
Everyone has to operate within a budget, and the Sheriff's Office is no exception. I realize, as most people do, there are always unexpected events that strain budgets. Spend what we need and conserve what we can for unexpected events. For example, why does the Rutherford County Sheriff's Office buy new building maintenance trucks with blue lights and sirens when we have deputies riding around with cars that have over 100,000 miles on them? How can you explain this to taxpayers when you're trying to prioritize what the guys need in regards to what others need? I have issues with the take-home car policies with with people taking out-of-county take-home cars that live in other counties at a taxpayer's expense that we all pay for makes absolutely no sense to me. These practices would stop, and I will make sure that the conservativeness is back into the Rutherford County Sheriff's Office with the way of the budgetary issues.
Thank you, Mr. Trammell. And Mr. Armour, how would you balance expectations of constituents with budget constraints?
Citizens of Rutherford County expect their Sheriff's Department to provide them a certain level of protection for them and their children and their property. In today's budget climate, I will work with our sister agencies and law enforcement to work together to make sure that we are upholding what the citizens think by sharing our resources so that no one agency is spending more money than the other. We need to remember that the taxpayer is not a money tree. We must work diligently to eliminate duplication of services, merge programs together under one leadership to cut off the top. And as an example, we can return certified officers to the streets and utilize either part-time or private sector resources to serve civil warrants. As an outsider, once I walk in the door, I will be able to look at the Sheriff's Department from the outside and go, why are we doing this? Why can't we do it better? And why are we even doing this in the first place? It's time for a change at the Sheriff's Department. I'm going to bring that change to us.
Thank you, Mr. Armour. And Mr. Arnold, how would you balance expectations of constituents with budget constraints?
Working with the county commission, working with the mayor. We review our budgets regularly to save money, line by line. A lot of people don't really realize that within the Sheriff's Office budget, 80% of our budget is salaries. And that's a fixed cost within the budget. It's salaries and benefits. While the remainder is discretionary funds within the Sheriff's Office, which is approximately about $2.5 to $3 million. We've cut within our budget over $100,000. We've cut by cutting out coffee, sugar, ketchup, mayonnaise, mustard, ketchup. You know, we continue to work with our commissioners to try to save and also come up with new ideas and experiences for the Sheriff's Office and for the county. We started a program within the Sheriff's Office by recycling our goods, taking that money, putting it into our Garden of Hope, and then taking the fruit and vegetables from that and putting it into the jail, literally letting the inmates reap the fruit of their labor. It's working with the commission.
Thank you, Mr. Arnold. And Mr. Kennedy, how would you balance expectations of constituents with budget constraints?
I personally think that there has been absolutely no budget constraints over the last 4 years. I know the Rutherford County taxpayers would never agree with how the budget is being run at the Sheriff's Department at its current time. Sheriff Arnold just spoke to ketchup, and yet they have a spending of $300,000 worth of uniforms, for uniforms, patches, and badges over the last 3 years with no bids, and it's like a shell game, hide and spend. How can you justify raising the budget from the overtime budget from $350,000 a year to $1.1 million a year, and that money be gone by January? How can you delete the drug fund from $2 million down to $500,000 by buying frivolous items? I will implement a zero budget discipline where we start with $0 at the beginning of every fiscal year, and then we only get what we need. We do not have to start at $33 million and go up.
Thank you, Mr. Kennedy. And now we will go to Mr. Armour for the next question. Mr. Armour, we spoke earlier of a 5-year vision. What is your vision for Rutherford County in 10 years?
We need a community that has jobs, industry, and services to keep our families together, not moving across the country to find work. We do that by creating an environment outside of the industry that wants to locate here. We need to keep our families here for generations to come. As sheriff, I will work with other disciplines in the community to make our community attractive to outside companies. The citizens of Rutherford County doesn't care whether the sheriff's department or the road superintendent work together or not. They expect us to work together. We are going to work together to make sure that our community has the resources available to keep our families together as a whole unit.
Thank you, Mr. Armour. Mr. Arnold, what is your vision for Rutherford County in 10 years?
We want to maintain our hometown feeling in a big city environment. My daughter, Ava, she'll be 16 at that time. She'll be getting her driver's license. Our primary mission is to make Rutherford County the safest county in the state, to live and to work, and continue to attract tourism to our county by making it safe. That's my vision for the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Arnold. Mr. Kennedy, what is your vision for Rutherford County in 10 years?
Growth has always been one of the big major concerns for Rutherford County and always will be. The sheriff must consider many factors. The most important thing to consider is the ability to collaborate with many other agencies and not alienate the sheriff's department as it's currently being run. You must be able to reach out to those other agencies and residents who need your assistance, just as you must be able to reach out and ask for assistance. A great example of this is the workhouse. You have amazing things going on over there with Bernard Solandi and Bill Cope and the recidivism rate in Rutherford County. I think that it needs to be a collaborative effort so that I would bring all the ideas and efforts in which are going on over there over to the Sheriff's Department so that we can work together to stop the recidivism rate and stop crime as we go forward. Currently, the Sheriff is doing everything in his power to take over the workhouse and make it more like a...
Thank you, Mr. Kennedy. Yeah. Mr. Trammell, what is your vision for Rutherford County in 10 years?
Rutherford County will continue to grow, and I would like it to be a place I can proudly call home. Good, dependable, professional law enforcement is vitally important to the stability of the community. Without it, there can be no positive economic growth or safety for its citizens. A better Sheriff's Department serving the citizens of Rutherford County while saving taxpayers' money would be the vision I see in 10 years.
Thank you, Mr. Trammell. So, you have each mentioned your ideas, but let's get a little more specific when I ask the question to Mr. Arnold. What specific changes could improve Rutherford County, and how could you individually help implement those changes?
It's working together. I said 4 years ago, the specific changes that we needed then are the same as we needed now. Building bridges within the community. We've worked very hard to build bridges within the community. We've also worked very hard to build bridges outside of Rutherford County with other agencies, making the Rutherford County Sheriff's Office the best sheriff's office in the state of Tennessee. We are now looked upon by other sheriff's offices for training. We are looked upon for our SOPs, different things within the Sheriff's Office. So it's those collaborative efforts that make Rutherford County Sheriff's Office the best. And it's by doing that you make the community safer and better by always putting the bar to the next level.
Thank you, Mr. Arnold. Mr. Kennedy, what specific changes would you make to improve Rutherford County, and how could you individually help implement those changes?
The first change is obvious. Rutherford County needs a law enforcement leader that will bring accountability, integrity, intelligence, and leadership back to the constitutional office of the Sheriff of Rutherford County. I will be the sheriff of safety and rights for all residents, not the elite who can call the sheriff up in the middle of the night and ask to interrogate a kidnapped and or tortured victim for counterfeit Justin Bieber tickets. Stop nepotism in the good old boy network. I will never hire a close relative of mine, never. And I will not allow, and if I were to hire a close relative, I would certainly hire him back if he got a DUI or had a jet stream of pepper spray 2 inches from a victim's eyes. And I would hold our officers accountable for their actions, not to say that you have some kind of special treatment just because you're a police officer, calling it professional courtesy. When elected, I will hold myself and the department accountable.
Thank you, Mr. Kennedy. And Mr. Trammell, What specific changes would improve Rutherford County in your opinion, and how could you individually help implement those changes?
I would start by decreasing the amount of management we have and restructure those positions into actual working positions. For example, take commander positions, make them into patrol, CRD, or detention positions that we actually need. I don't need 10 supervisors telling one person how to do their job. I need 10 people working with one supervisor. One thing that made no sense to me was how you could send numerous supervisors, of course, to 10 to 12-week schools and have lower-ranking officers not only do their job, but others as well, and never have any problems with it. My thinking was if we need more middle management people, then hire more college graduates with management degrees. This way, the graduate has concurred the cost of his training and not the taxpayers. I would stop the practice of changing uniforms every year and not have an A, B, C, D class uniform. At this rate, Sheriff Arnold in 4 years will have an E, F, G, H uniform, and it will continue on only from there. It's time to get a conservative-minded sheriff as myself in office, because in 4 years we will not be able to afford to live here. The practice of moving to another county to pay cheaper taxes and have an RCSO take-home.
Thank you very much, Mr. Trammell. And just a reminder to the audience, we're asking that there be no audience response until the end, and we would appreciate you respectfully abiding by that. And Mr. Armour, what specific changes do you think would improve Rutherford County, and how could you individually help implement those changes?
I believe the sheriff's not an entity to himself. I think a sheriff should be able to work with others. I believe that the ability to bring people to the table for a common goal is something that we're going to have to be able to do in our current budget environment. All government, I believe the citizens don't care, how to say this, I don't believe the citizens care that we have an interagency rivalry. I think the citizens want service for what they pay for. And as sheriff, I want to make sure that the citizens get what they pay for, that they get a professional, accountable, transparent, approachable sheriff's department. I believe that's what we need in this county today, and I want to be the sheriff that brings that to the public.
Thank you, Mr. Armour. And for our last question tonight, and just to remind you, in your response to this last question, you may also make your closing statement. And we will begin with Mr. Kennedy. What would be your measure of success as Sheriff of Rutherford County?
First, I'd like to thank the League of Women Voters for having us tonight. Thank you so much. My measure of success would be not a statistical measure or a measure in which it's failure or success. It would be a measure of whether or not we are able to serve the public in the capacity of the Sheriff's Department. I truly would like to, in closing, I am a graduate of Middle Tennessee State University, Cumberland University, the FBI Academy. I have my master's degree in public service administration. I'm working on my PhD. I have 19 years of my 23 years of law enforcement at the Rutherford County Sheriff's Department, and I am the most experienced, qualified, and educated candidate for the constitutional office of Sheriff of Rutherford County. I am a proven leader. I have led the Rutherford County Sheriff's Office to multiple national awards and recognition. I will bring accountability, integrity, intelligence, leadership back to the constitutional office Sheriff of Rutherford County. And I am endorsed by Sheriff Truman Jones,
Thank you,
Bob
Mr.
Asbury,
Kennedy.
and Boots Donnelly.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kennedy. And Mr. Trammell.
Sure, if I'm elected sheriff, I will listen to the employees and not retaliate against them because of their political aspirations. Morale at any department is the key to continued success for the sheriff. I don't think having music videos in the jail is going to increase morale in one bit. If so, you're going to have one every single day with the morale problems we're having down there at the sheriff's department. Happy employee spills over into the community, making for a positive atmosphere. I will stay committed to the people and protect your constitutional rights, not violate them. If another officer's rights can be violated, imagine what could be going on in the community. I will not enforce any federal law nor assist agents in violating constitutional rights such as the right to keep and bear arms, provided that we have law-abiding citizens. That's my closing.
Thank you, Mr. Trammell. Mr. Armour, what would be your measure of success as Sheriff of Rutherford County?
Number one, maintaining services, preparing the department for our future growth, stable employment atmosphere, preparing employees and encourage them to develop into tomorrow's leaders, streamlining our budget, I want to be transparent. I also want to be approachable. But I also think that the citizens, if they feel safe in their community, then that's the measure of success for the Sheriff's Department. It's how the citizens feel. And in closing, I would like for all the voters of Rutherford County to look at all four of us, look at our backgrounds, look what we stand for, look at our experience, determine what's going to be best sheriff for Rutherford County. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Armour. And Mr. Arnold, what would be your measure of success as Sheriff of Rutherford County?
It's been what is the success that I have now. The success is measured by positive feedback from citizens of the county. I try to respond to the citizens' concerns by being open, honest, and accountable to them. Success is measured by the citizens feeling safe in their homes, their schools, and their communities. We just work every day going out into the community and getting the community's feedback. That is the measure of success, because if the community feels safe, they will let you know. If they have a concern, they will let you know. That's why I go out into the community every day talking to citizens of the county, being accessible to let us know what is going on in their community. That's the measure of success. And in closing, I'd like to say, do we continue? Okay. In closing, we are a team of highly trained and experienced caring law enforcement professionals. We work together to solve problems. Our ultimate goal is to be productive, safety-minded citizens.
Thank you, Mr. Arnold.
Thank you.
And once again, on behalf of the League of Women Voters and Rutherford County, I want to thank all of the candidates for your participation today. I also want to recognize Brian Robertson, Director of the Rutherford County Office of Information Technology, and Lee Harris, Communications Manager, for their cooperation in presenting this program on Governmental Channel 19 and making it available on the county website. I want to encourage all Rutherford County citizens to vote. Early voting begins July 18th and runs through August 2nd. And Election Day is August 7th. Please exercise this important right to determine who represents you on county matters. And now, audience, may we close with a round of applause for the candidates.